नेक्स्ट टाइम कल ही हो रही, हाँ अब हो गई है। ठीक है। तो once again, a very good evening to all of you. And first of all, a very warm welcome to online learning portal of New IAS. My name is Avi Pathak, and I'll be dealing with the current affairs aspect of Indian polity part. So issues related with polity, governance, and recent developments in constitution and all we'll discuss here. As we are working under the guidance of Aman Soni sir, this current affair program is intended for those students who are going to take part in the forthcoming prelims, that is 2026 PT. So due to some technical glitches, we were supposed to take it yesterday, but the setup was not so okay with us and we were unable to do that. Today also we are facing some glitches, but don't worry. It's just a matter of a day or two. We'll be able to sort it out since we are new to this particular domain. So it is slightly difficult for us to manage the technical aspects, but certainly we are going to make it much more better as the days to come. So please bear with us, and I hope that you people are able to actually see the video and the audio is clear. But even if it is there with some glitches, please do not worry for the same, and definitely will try to make it sort it as early as possible, because to be honest, I mean, we are putting a lot of effort, and for a generation which is as old as ours, it is quite difficult to get familiar or get comfortable with the streaming part, and that especially going for a live streaming. But okay, fine, if you are like able to see us or able to hear us, then probably we can proceed, right? Okay, so without wasting the time of the house, let's try to get onto our discussion. And I'll be sharing the screen. I hope it's going to be visible. So here the whole idea is nothing but to talk about the current affair program. So first I'll give you the brief as far as our whole program is concerned about the current affair. And as I've told you, this program is directed for the students who are going to appear for 2026 prelims. The coverage part we are going to start is, let's say, from beginning of this particular year, from January 2025, we can say till date, right? Till date here means till prelims of you guys when you are going to appear for the prelims, and it would be including different modules, like for example, the polity part would be taken care by me, right? Similarly, economics part would be taken care by Aman Soni sir, and we have other respected faculties which are going to take the different modules. Overall, is going to be a year-long journey, right? So close to, we can say, 9 to 12 months we are going to have, as far as these classes are going to be delivered to. First couple of classes we had kept free for all the students who are going to participate in that particular program, and after that you need to subscribe to our NEEP portal, and through an application of New IS you'll be able to watch this particular classes, right? Now let's first start with a basic orientation or understanding of why current affair is so relevant for our exam. And since as far as the current affair is concerned, the sources are many, because we have information flooding, a lot of information is available, but the point is how to gather that particular information, because almost all the media channel, or we can say platforms like YouTube, Telegram, and these places, there we find a lot of institutions, persons, they are taking care of the current affairs, right from daily news analysis to what we can say the understanding of core concepts. So you have always a choice to go for any program, but just stick to one. If you're going to switch over, then definitely you're going to get confused. Because in current affairs, it's very important first to understand what not to read. This is the first. Because, as I said, the whole information portal, as far as UPSC current affairs is concerned, is flooded with a lot of information. And there we have to decide, or we have to be choosy, that we should not get into the flow of information. Rather, we must be in a position to decide what not to read. The moment you decide what not to read, it's very easy for us to understand what to read. So this is the first. Now, many people, many students who are basically the beginners, what they do, they actually start jumping into reading of newspapers or the monthly magazines and so on. It's fine, okay, they can do that. Go for reading a newspaper, or reading the monthly magazine, whatever monthly magazine you follow, right? But the problem is how you are going to cope up, right? So that issue also we are going to discuss, that which newspaper we are going to follow, which monthly magazine we have to follow, and most importantly, right, rather than which, what magazine we should refer to, right? What newspaper we refer to, when actually we should start reading those newspapers and magazines. This part also we are going to discuss. So I just said the first couple of minutes, around 15 to 20 minutes, we'll be discussing about these things, and then we are going to go ahead with our topics. So let's first try to understand an overview as far as a role of current affairs is concerned. So when we talk about current affairs, right, there, what you need to understand, this current affair as a subject plays a very, very vital role in all the three stages of your examination. Whether you are going to appear for prelims, whether you are appearing for your mains, and when you are going to face your interview, at all the three stages, the role of current affairs cannot be undermined. So when we talk about prelims, obviously we know that it's somewhat 60-40 balance. So when we talk about prelims, the 60% questions may be from the core areas which you study, that is called history, geography, polity, and so on. And the 40% questions would be the current related issues which are associated with those core areas. For example, if you are studying, let's say, economics in core areas, current affairs question would be there from economics. If you are studying polity in core areas, the current affair would be definitely there in the current part of the polity question. So basically, you have to be very strong at core areas also. Then only you'll be able to understand the current related part. Generally, the people do what? They basically go for the current, without understanding the core. And the problem is that they will not be able to understand anything out of it. Similarly, when we talk about mains, in fact, all our papers, GS paper 1, GS paper 2, paper 3, and paper 4, right? Current affairs is highly overlapping, especially in the general studies part. Plus, if you people have optionals which are dynamic in nature, right? And most of the optional, whether you talk about political science, whether you talk about public administration, whether you talk about geography as an optional, sociology as an optional, whatever the optional you are going to choose, everywhere, in optional you have two paper. One is the paper one, which is going to be global or international. Paper two, for most of the optional, is in the Indian context. And the moment you start studying paper two of your optional, you encounter the current affair there. So it's very important to integrate the current affairs with your optional, especially optional paper two, so that you'll be able to write it. Now, when we talk about interview, obviously interview is your personality test. So 70% of the questions would be related with your personality. But the remaining 30% questions would be related with those areas which were especially in news, right? Let's say, for example, we are going with the Ladakh issue, and suppose a student have the interview in this month only. So definitely that student is going to get a question from what current related aspect of what happened or what is happening as far as the Ladakh issue is concerned. So we have to be cautious and careful enough. And what I'm trying to tell you, the role and relevance of current affairs, right? How it is and why it is very important, right? Now, coming back to sources. So when we talk about the sources for the current affairs, we know that specifically there is no source as such, right? But when we try to jot down some sources, obviously, as I told you, we can refer some newspaper. When it comes to newspaper, you can go for Indian Express, you can go for The Hindu. These are the newspapers which you can refer if you are an English medium student. And when we talk about magazine, if you are doing some classroom program, you know, from any coaching, then follow that coaching magazine, or else there could be many in the market, including the India Today, Chronicle, Wizard, and all those things, right? Civil Services Times, etc. So any one magazine will do. But as a student, when you start reading or referring these sources, now if you are a beginner, right? Let's say a student has started his or her preparation. So, for example, a student ABC has started his or her preparation as a new student. Now, let's say he is or she is studying through self-study, right? So, let's say self-study or doing some classroom program that is through coaching and all those things. And in the class, coaching or self-study, let's say they have started with what? Any subject, for example, polity. So, the moment they started with polity course, the problem is what? When he or she will open the newspaper or magazine, there they will get the what? News which is of national relevance, of state importance, okay, of the international aspects. The economic news would be there, the science and technology related news would be there, environment related news would be there. And what that poor student is doing, he or she is trying to read everything from the newspaper or the magazine without understanding what is the use, right? If you have not done with your core subject, let's say for example polity or economics, anything, right? And today, suppose there is a news in the newspaper that President of India is impeached. Now that poor fellow reading about the news which says that President of India is impeached or impeachment motion is initiated against the president. He had started with preamble of the constitution. Now he or she is not aware what impeachment is exactly, right? Unnecessarily he or she is wasting the time in reading that particular article. In economics, for example, they have started the NNP, GNP, and all those things, or GDP, right? And there is a news that tariff war is going on. So if tariff war is going on, how that person will understand the tariff and all those things without understanding the core concept of economy? So please avoid that mistake. Do not jump into current affairs if you have not completed your core area. That is the first. Now those students who have done their core areas, right, they should read the current affairs only the areas which they have covered through their self-study or classroom program. If they have covered polity and economy in the whole newspaper, they just read the political and the economic news. That's it. Don't go for understanding or reading the science and technology news or IR related news. It's of no use. It's just a waste of time. Third category of student who had already done the preparation of general studies through coaching or self-study, they are the one who can actually go for reading a newspaper or a magazine at one go. And for them also it is suggested that do follow a monthly magazine rather than daily newspaper. Because daily newspaper, if you read the article, you are tend to forget it. And you cannot collect it throughout the year. Is that clear? So at our new IS platform, what we have done is nothing but we have decided to provide the current affair in that series only. Right? And whenever we are going to discuss any topic of current affairs, XYZ, assuming that student is a beginner, so what we'll do? We'll try to make him or her understand some bit of core aspect of that particular topic, right? So it will make him or her understand the core. Then we are going to talk about the recent developments which are taking place in that particular area. So starting with the core, we would be helping him or her to understand the concept, and once he or she understand the concept, then obviously he or she would be in a better position to understand the current affair related development with that particular topic. So this is the idea which we are going to take up or which we are going to follow. Am I clear with this? Perfect. Now, second thing what we are going to do, let's say suppose we have completed a topic called XYZ in the current affairs, any topic, right? Now here what you have to understand, here Just reading the news or understanding the topic is not important. You must be able to answer the questions which are related with the current affair. So for that, what we'll do, we'll give you some practice questions, especially for both prelims as well as mains. And as far as the mains is concerned, there you need to write the answer. So we'll focus upon making you learn the answer writing as well. Because if you don't know how to write the answer of the topic which is there in the current affair, everything becomes meaningless. There is no point in studying unless you don't understand what could be the possible answer or what way we should write the answer for that particular topic. So that is another thing which we are going to take care as far as our current affairs program is concerned. Right? So in a nutshell, if I would say, then how we are going to do? We are going to make you understand the core, then we'll definitely make you understand the concept, and then we'll take up the most recent development, that is the news which is there in the current part, and after that we are going to give you some practice or mock questions which you have to solve in the class itself. So this is the way how you are going to deal, and questions are also from both the perspective, from the prelims perspective also and from the mains perspective also. So this should be our approach as far as we are going to take up the current affair program. So if you have any doubts or things like that, definitely you are open to ask through the chat box. And if you're watching it live, then definitely you can post your questions immediately. Now let's begin with our module. So as I've told you that we are going to start with the current affairs which are related with Indian polity. So that as a student who had enrolled in our program, already we had shared a list of containing 25 to 30 important topics, right? Now this 25 to 30 important topics are classified from the Hindu, Indian Express, other magazines, January 2025 till date. In future, again we are going to have some more topics, but this is what we have as far as the coverage is concerned. So when we talk about the important topics, list is already forwarded with you people, but if you do not have, again we'll share it with you guys, so it will be very easy for you to understand the list, right? To understand the topics, to follow the topics and so on. So here to start with, as I just told you that the topics which might be there in news, like for example, you might have heard about one nation, one subscription. So here, if a student is not aware about one nation, one subscription, through the core, it might be difficult for him or her to understand, because one nation and then one have a suffix not only for subscription. You might have heard about one nation, one election, one nation, one pension, okay. One nation, one tax, that is GST and all those things. So one nation, one formula is very popular. Most recent one is for the subscription, and the subscription is not related with OTT platforms like Netflix and all those things, right? And this subscription is related with the research and development related part, especially the literature, the journals published by the minds, intellectual minds and all those things. And it was very difficult for us to get the subscription because it's huge cost, huge to the exchequer of India, around 15 to 20 crores per year. So to resolve that dilemma, government has started one nation, one subscription. I'll tell you how it is going to work. Similarly, you might have heard about delimitation commission. So when we talk about delimitation commission, what does it mean, why it was in news, and how recent Ladakh development is related with delimitation also. Or you might have heard about right to die, right, which was in news. So what is right to die, etc. So like this, we have picked up a couple of topics which are very, very important as far as the January 2025 till date current affair is concerned. I hope you're understanding. So let's see, for understanding purpose, let's pick up any particular topic, and then you will get the idea that what would be our teaching methodology as far as the topic is concerned, right from coverage of the core, the concept part, and then the current affairs related aspect of it. Let's say, for example, when we talk about right to die. Now, you all might have heard about this word, right to die. This is not a big deal, right? People know about what is right to die and so on. But the point is, what about if a question comes in UPSC, whether it comes for prelims or whether it comes for mains, what do you write? So if it comes in prelims, obviously you have to just mark the option. But if it comes in mains, then you have to write 150 words, 200 words, or it may be asked for 250 words. So do we have those 250 words or at least 8 to 9 points which we can write as far as right to die as a news is concerned or as a topic is concerned? Because in newspaper, what we'll do? Yes, in newspaper, simply it's going to be what? The article and some information related with it. But if a student doesn't know about it, then how to handle that particular issue or how to handle that particular topic. So let's say if the topic is right to die, how we have to go about it. First, the first thing, try to understand the introduction of this topic. When we use the word introduction, the first thing we need to know the meaning and definitions associated with that particular topic. So what exactly the right to die means, and if I have to define that, how I'm going to define that. Second, after understanding the meaning, it's always good to understand the historical perspective, right? So when we talk about historical perspective, you can say evolutionary perspective, because right to die is something which has not just arrived today, right? It might have been in evolution from some time, maybe in Western countries or maybe in some developed countries, and then we are started following in India. So what is the historical perspective of this particular topic? I'm saying these things because if you have to write the answer, you have to mention all these things. It's not a one-liner or PT kind of question. Then, apart from historical aspect, we need to understand the objectives, right? So, what are the objectives, goals, or target behind this particular right? That is, what we are going to achieve if we give the people right to die facility. Then, apart from the objectives, goals, historical perspective, what would be the significance, right? Or what could be the importance, or what could be the relevance of right to die? So if somebody says that I have a right to die, what does it mean? How it is important, significant for him as a person and for the whole society. Then, after understanding these basic things, introduction, historical perspective, objective, goals, significance, and importance, now we'll come to the recent development. So when we talk about recent development, right to die is related with what? So here we'll look into the constitutional position of right to die. So we know that right to die may be related with right to life. So is it a part of right to life? And if it is a part of right to life, the first and foremost thing, what is right to life? पहले तो ये समझना होगा right to life क्या है, and then how it is including the right to die. Then in implementation, what are the challenges or the issues which we are going to face, right, as far as right to die is concerned? Because right to die does not mean right to murder or take someone's life. So right to die had a different meaning and interpretation, all those things. Then when we talk about right to die, right, is right to die simply implies what? To be killed by someone, or is it equivalent to murder, right? Or it is related to be killed, or life should be taken by the state or the government, right? That you might have heard about a term called capital punishment. So is capital punishment is right to die? Capital punishment means death sentence. Like, some people are hanged till death, no? So that is called capital punishment. So is it equal to or equivalent to death sentence? That is another thing. Then is right to die is related with something which is very popular and famous. We know the term that is called suicide. So suicide and right to die is same, or there is some difference. So different interpretation of the word right to die, right? Because if we talk about right to life, what is life? It's a journey between birth and death. So does right to die comes in between birth and death or something beyond that? Here, You might have heard about female feticide. Is it before the birth? So right to die apply here. What is the exact position of right to die in general? Then again, right to die is very synonym or related with another term, right, which is used is known as euthanasia. So what is euthanasia? How right to die is associated with euthanasia? And euthanasia is also of multiple types, right? It could be a passive euthanasia. So what is passive euthanasia? It could be a active euthanasia. So what is active? It could be a neutral euthanasia, right? That could be then. It could be assisted euthanasia. So what is assisted euthanasia? Or you might have heard about a term which is also related to the right to die is nothing but mercy killing. So what is mercy killing? Is it same as right to die, or it is different from right to die or passive euthanasia or active euthanasia? So many dimensions of this particular topic is there. And as a student, as a beginner, if I'm just reading an article in the newspaper or the magazine, it might not be possible for us to understand right to die in totality. But when will we be able to understand right to die? If we understand all these interpretation of the term right to die. So slowly you might be understanding that what exactly we are trying to look into. So what could be the challenges or issues as far as right to die is concerned? Then understanding the dimension will make us understand the challenges. Then after understanding the challenges, what do we expect? UPSC expect us to give some suggestions or some solutions or some way forward, right, for this particular issue. So what could be those suggestion, solution, way forward if we have to write an answer, right? Then we have to quote some examples, and examples maybe not only about in the Indian context but also about the what Western context, that is how the things is moving in the Western countries. So what is the Western context of it, right? Then right to die, obviously apart from the suggestion solution, there may be a separate question altogether related with the criticism. Suppose we have to write some critiques or maybe critically examine the right to die. So criticism and appraisals related with right to die. So what are the criticism and appraisal? We must know this also. And when we know all these things, then only we can say that yes, as a student, now I have the multiple dimensions of understanding related with right to die. And if something left, then we'll always keep that in parking lot, that is miscellaneous. What could be miscellaneous? Let's say for example right to die, and people have started using excessively, or let's say the government has made a legislation on right to die, or somebody has started using the misusing it by using the loopholes of right to die. Then what will happen, right? Then whether the matter can be brought before the Supreme Court, or can it be challenged in the High Court, right? Or the judiciary will intervene it, or not. So stand up judiciary also we have to look into as far as implementation of right to die is concerned, because every law has some or the other loopholes, and we need to know those loopholes so that we must be providing the solution to plug those loopholes. So as a student, if I know, right, all the dimensions of right to die, it would be very easy for me to write the answer. So everything about right to die, you must be knowing. Otherwise, what will happen? Otherwise, just writing one or two dimensions may give us a sense of completion, but definitely it will not fetch us the mark. So this should be the idea that how we should go ahead as far as right to die is concerned, right? So I hope you might be understanding as far as this particular aspect is concerned. Yes or no? So I'm not aware whether some people are watching it or not, but if some people are watching it, definitely would love to hear their comment, so that we also must be in a position to actually go ahead according to the flow. But if you have planned to watch it later, because it would be available on YouTube, so definitely you can do that. Right? Perfect. So let's try to understand what do you mean by right to die from a basic perspective. So when we talk about from basic perspective, right, let's say we are taking right to die as a topic. So already we have announced that whatever the core aspects are related, you are supposed to study that first, and then you can attend the current affair classes because it would be easy for you to understand. But suppose I have to understand the meaning. There are two words. One is right. So what exactly we mean by right? Other is die. So what is the meaning of right? When we talk about the word right, then right is nothing but a sort of claim or some sort of entitlements, right? So sort of claim or some sort of entitlements are there as far as right to die is concerned, and basically the meaning of the word right. So whenever we say right, we are claim or entitled to. Big question is from where? So let's say I am a person. Let's say you are a student. You definitely have some rights associated with your, let's say, family. So you can ask for food, clothing, shelter, school fees, college fees, books, tuition fees, etc. because you are entitled to. But a fellow who is not a part of this family may not ask. As simple as that. Let's say your friend. So your friend cannot ask for a new brand shoes from your parents. He or she has to ask with his or her parents because they have a claim or entitlement there. Family too. Right? Like that, when we talk about this right to die, even if we have this claim or entitlement, from whom we have? So here we need to understand this right. Actually, we claim or entitle from entity that is called state. So basically, it's not an individual from whom we have to ask for this right. Rather, we have to go to the state, or on behalf of state, we have to ask for this right from the government. So either the state or the government will give us this particular right? Whatever it may be, to die or anything else, right? So this is the claim or entitlement of a person. Second, there are some rights which are available to only citizens. So whether right to die is available only to citizens, or you all have done the fundamental right topic, so you might be knowing. And there are some rights which are available to citizens as well as aliens. Aliens means foreigners, right? So whether the right to die is available to only citizens or aliens. So answer is it is available to both. Anybody can exercise. Why it is available to both? Because constitutionally, right to die is placed under Article 21 of the Constitution, which deals with what? Right to life. And since right to life is one right which is available to both, any person, that is, whether they are the citizens or the aliens, it is available to all the people who are present within the territory of India. So this is the claim or entitlement from the state or government as far as what the right to die is concerned, and available to both citizens also and aliens also. So the word first word right, I hope the meaning is clear. It's a simple claim or entitlement. Now when we talk about die, so what is the meaning of die? Die is nothing but termination, right? Or bringing an end to what? To the process of life. Right? So when we say we want right to die, that means we want to terminate or we want to end our life. And what is life? Just now I told you, life is a journey starting from the birth and going up to death. So this death, let's assume it's a natural death. But if somebody wants to terminate in between, let's say here only, due to some reason, that will be the exercise of right to die. Right. So it's basically nothing but related with termination, or we can say ending the process of life. But what do you have to keep it in mind? If you terminate unnaturally, right, forceful or some other means, then it would be what? It would be an irreversible process. Right. So you have to be very cautious, because once you have taken this right, you cannot reverse it, because there will be no more to again complain or appeal in higher court that I want to reverse my right to die or something like that. So please make sure that this exercise of the right should be very cautious and with all senses working. Otherwise, once you have exercised it, there is no possible recovery of it. For other rights you can, but for right to die, no, that's an extreme one. Right. Now when we talk about right to die, then how we can define right to die is nothing but process of right, or a sort of claim or entitlement for what? For terminating one's life. Right. Simple. So for terminating one's life, you have some sort of claim or entitlement. But the big question is why we need it? Because when we talk about right to die, as I told you, the constitutional provision related with this particular right is mentioned in part 3 of our constitution, right? And when we talk part 3 of the constitution, that relates with something called fundamental rights. In fundamental rights, we have multiple types of right. One of the right is nothing but right to freedom. And under right to freedom, we have got a very important article that is called right to life. The amplitude of right to life is very wide. So that's why the right to die is kept under right to life, or we can say in simple words, it's a part of Article 21. But to understand this, whatever the rights we have got in Article 21 or Part 3 of the Constitution, they are not absolute in nature. That means there are what? Some reasonable restrictions which are placed on right to life. So right to life does not mean that you have everything related with life. That means birth to death, whatever you want you can do. No, there are going to be reasonable restrictions. If you have a right to freedom of speech, that means what? You can speak, but you can't speak anything. Your speech may not lead to seditions. You may not lead to communal disharmony or violence and all those things, or it may not go against the existence of state and so on. So those are the limitations. Like that, right to life also has the limitations. But here we have one doctrine that is called personal liberty. So right to life with personal liberty. So personal liberty, when we talk about, that means what? Some basic freedom is ensured in our constitution, but again it is not absolute, it is limited. Now under personal liberty, it has been kept that if we have the liberty means freedom to do something, then you must have a freedom or liberty to die also. That's how it is interpreted. But liberty to die in what circumstances? Right? Because as I told you, right to die is nothing but what? Termination of life, and it is an irreversible process. So if you get the liberty to die, then obviously you are not going to reverse that exercise. Plus, suppose a person is having a life. Why person cannot end his life? Obviously they can end. But that end, if it is not natural, then it is termed as suicide. And problem with the suicide is what? The suicide is considered to be an illegal act as per the various clauses, sections of IPC and CRPC, especially 306 and 309. These two deals with what? Suicide as an illegal offense, or it's a punishable activity. So 306 and 309 deals with abatement of suicide and the person who commits the suicide. So if a person is committing the suicide and suppose he or she is unable to die in that attempt, failed in suicide, then they will be punished, right, up to 1 year of imprisonment and some fine. And the person who had actually provoked the abatement, that is provocated, that person may also be punished up to a period of 10 years. So that is a clause. That means it makes a criminal activity to go for attempting the suicide. But when we say right to die, it is somewhat different from right to suicide, because right to die has different constitutional aspect or constitutional position as far as the concept of death or concept of bringing an end or terminating our life is concerned. Because if you do suicide, obviously it is going to be somewhat punishable, right? But if you actually ask for right to die, then it might not be a punishable offense. So definitely right to die is going to be different from what? Suicide. So I hope you understood. Suicide is a punishable offense, but this is not. So this has to exercise under certain what? Circumstances. So first you have to fulfill those circumstances, then only you will be in a position to exercise something called right to die. What are those circumstances? Let's try to understand that as well. So I hope up to here the things are clear. Any confusion, any issue? No issues? Okay. So let's move ahead. As I told you that exercising or committing an act of suicide is a punishable offense, but right to die is not, because it is under certain circumstances. So what are those circumstances in which a person can ask for right to die. So for that, I mean, this concept was not India, not in India initially. It is a Western concept, right? And when we say it is a Western concept, what does it mean? So simply it implies what? Simply it implies that